that relationship was gonna end sooner or later. You will always feel guilty when setting boundaries. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Lufumana Lawyer and this is a space where we talk about life, wellness and everything else in between. So today, as you can see from the title of this video, we'll be talking about boundaries, and I feel I need to talk about this because it has been a very teachable moment for me. Because prior to reading these two books that I've read on boundaries, I used to think, why do you need boundaries? Why do you need to isolate yourself? Why do you need to keep everyone else out? Until I understood what boundaries are made for, what boundaries are, and all that. And so I'll be sharing with you a few myths on boundaries and also a few highlights that are important to know on this topic of boundaries. So, what are boundaries? Boundaries are the expectations and needs that you need in relationships that you might have to make you feel safe and secure in those relationships. So, before we move on, I have a very nice analogy of boundaries. So, look at your neighbor's house and your house. There's a very clear boundary as to which side is yours and which side belongs to your neighbors. That's what boundaries are. They set clear expectations and rules, and you know what you're responsible for. You know what's in your power, what's your responsibility to do. For example, if your neighbors are cleaning or sweeping their yard and they stop where they have to stop, you now won't have to complain because you know, okay, there's the boundary. That's what they were supposed to do. They're not supposed to do this side. If they pave that side and not come to yours, you now won't complain saying they should have come this side or whatnot because there are boundaries between you and your neighbors. And so, a few myths about boundaries that we need to put out there is that number one, when you set boundaries, you're being disobedient. This is not in any way true, and it mostly comes out when you set boundaries with your family. Just know that you have to tread carefully on that one. But setting boundaries is not disobedience. Number two, if you set boundaries, you're hurting others. Healthy boundaries are not meant to hurt others, but preserve your relationship or make you feel safe. Number three, if you set boundaries, you're being selfish. That is also not true. Number four, if you set boundaries, you're being angry. Well, this is not true, but people believe it's like this because you mostly try to set boundaries when you're in a state of anger. A few points that I would like you to know about setting boundaries is that number one, set boundaries as soon as you recognize the need for boundaries. This may be when you're neglecting your self-care or you feel overwhelmed or certain resentment or resentment. You need to set boundaries sooner than later. And boundaries are not meant to attack, control, or manipulate other people, but rather to preserve the relationship. And so now, if you set a boundary and it ends your relationship, then that relationship was gonna end sooner or later because of some other weird reasons. Number two is that you need to vocalize your boundaries. It is not a boundary if you have not said it. It is not a boundary if you have not vocalized it. Now, people are not mind readers. We do not do guesswork. And so, for a boundary to be there, you need to have said it. Number three is that when you're setting boundaries, you should be clear and straight to the point, right? You need to be clear so that it leaves no room for misunderstandings, it leaves no room for negotiation because people like negotiating and talking you out of your boundary setting. You need to avoid that by being clear and straight to the point. And also, you should be firm and stand your ground. If you feel like you don't need people to call you after 12 and you say it, you should stand your ground because you know why you say that. You know how it makes you feel if you take calls after that or whatever it is. Be firm and stand your ground. Number four is that you should repeat when necessary. Now understand that they say Rome wasn't built in one day. And so for someone to understand or properly hear what your boundaries are. You need to repeat them when necessary. This might be when you feel like someone else is trying to ignore or disregard what you said to them, or they're trying to violate your boundaries. Repeat them. Number five is that you will always feel guilty when setting boundaries. Now, this is more specifically to people who are new to this setting boundaries, like myself. You will always feel guilty because you're not used to it. Now, when you feel guilty, you should learn to adjust to that discomfort and somehow deal with it, because that's how you do things. Short-term discomfort is better than being in a toxic or a bad friendship or relationship because you're scared to voice out your expectations. No, honey, that's not how it works. Number six is that you should follow your boundaries with consequences. If someone decides to violate or disregard your boundary, you should have a consequence for that. That will ensure that people take you seriously, or people take your boundaries seriously and see what you mean business, right? If someone decides to call you after 12 and you think you don't want to be called after 12, don't pick up. Or simply just respond and tell them, I told you, don't do this, and hang up. Joking. But your boundaries should have consequences for those who decide not to listen or for those who think you're joking. Number seven, you should call out boundary violations every time you see them. Whether someone is trying to give you silent treatment or is trying to avoid you or is trying to disregard your boundaries, call it out by name and have a discussion about that. Call it out when you see it. You should never let things slide. And last but not least, you teach people how to treat you. If you do not honor your own boundaries, don't expect other people to honor your boundaries, because that's not possible. So, first, honor your own boundaries, respect your own boundaries, respect yourself, and that's when other people will take you seriously. And that's it for now. Please comment down below on some of the other points that you'd like to add on what I've said on boundaries. And please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Bye. And